Hey everybody, Chris Parry here from Equity Guru. Today's 3-minute hit is on a company I haven't talked about for years, and that is SLANG Worldwide. This is not a client company by any stretch. SLNG is the ticker symbol on the CSE. Look, the reason I'm talking about this company today is because you might recall I used to talk about weed companies a lot back in the day. And then one day I got up on stage at Cambridge House Investor Conference and said, sell everything, get out right now. It'll never be this good again. And 3 days later, the arse fell out of the cannabis market. And it has never come back, despite what the enthusiasts keep hoping for. There are many reasons why it hasn't come back. One is, in Canada at least, that the government regulations pretty much corner the market for the government on distribution and tie up marketing to the point where companies can't differentiate themselves from other companies. Now, there was always talk about, well, the best will differentiate themselves from the worst. This just isn't the way. People go to the weed store and they get some weed. The enthusiasts might go out there and have their favorite brands, but most people are like, I'll have the purple birthday cake, head explosion Kush. They just want to go out and get stoned, let's be honest. So, SLANG Worldwide is a company that we had an arrangement to help market early in their existence, and then 2 weeks in, company got real scared and decided we don't understand promotion at all, so we're just going to pull back. And so we never got to do the job with them that we would have liked to have done. But hey, it's a couple of years later. The company still exists. I just read a corporate update that pointed to lots of new products and advancements and cost cutting. So I thought I'd give it a look. Well, the first problem here with SLANG is you're looking at something that has lost about 95% of its value. Just over the last year, it's gone from $1.02 down to 8 cents. Not a good year. They've done some cost cutting. They've managed to get some expenses down, which is good. Let me see here. Your expenses dropped pretty hard. But here's the problem is there's no money in weed, right? Like, there's money in weed if you're growing it in a ditch in the middle of Penticton somewhere. There's money in weed if you're growing it in a closet in a college dorm room. There's no money in weed if you're paying high street rents for dispensaries in high traffic parts of town, and you're competing with the liquor store on one side and the guy behind the dumpster at the Denny's on the other side, and the feds aren't really going out there after the black market. And so you're competing with a guy who has no shop front, who has an ad on Craigslist and a push bike. And how are you going to compete with that guy? Everyone who smoked weed coming into the legalization of weed still does. Those guys had a guy that they went to for 20 years. They've still got a guy. Unless you're a really, really advanced dispensary that is doing the work of taking non-cannabis users and bringing them into the cannabis mindset, which is hard work, you're not really making any money here. You're competing with people who make no money, but it's okay because they have no costs, and your costs are out of control. So SLANG, I'm looking into the numbers here, and last quarter, their financials showed $8.3 million in net operating revenue, compared to $9 million the year before. It's okay. They've tried to streamline things a little bit. They're reducing costs. A little less revenue than the year before isn't necessarily a red flag. Gross profit before gain on fair value of biological assets is $3.6 million. So gross profit of $3.6 million in a quarter, it's okay. But when we come down the line here, operating expenses, $7.4 million. So now you're looking at an operating loss of $3.8 million for the quarter, a total comprehensive loss of 4.5, which comes down to about 4 cents a share when your shares are at 6 cents. Look, you can cut all the costs you like at that point. You do not have a business model that generates profits. Now, this is okay for SLANG. I don't want to pick on SLANG because if you go down the news releases for cannabis pubcos, it's a minefield out there. Like, everyone's in trouble. But I will say this: if you're losing, let's say, $4.5 million per quarter, and you're looking at about I don't know, $16 million in the bank, your runway is about 2 more quarters. And that's problematic. You can save 30% on your costs all you like, but you're going to run out of money at some point unless things turn around in the next 6 months. SLANG will either need to go to the market to get more cash, or we'll need to sell something, or we'll have to hope that the US government legalizes weed in a hurry. Here's the problem with that last bit of hope and dream. It's not going to happen. You've got an election coming right now. The time to do such things is around election time, right? If the promises are being made, we are going to legalize weed, well, you're going to run the election on that. It's going to happen, assuming you win. But if whoever wins this election, no one's doing a damn thing with weed. Yeah, they'll let people out of jail for weed offenses. Sure, but that's the thin edge of the wedge. The next thing that will get legalized is medicinal use. Now, medicinal use has long been the way in to legality for the weed companies and for weed sellers and for weed clients, for that matter. The problem is that everybody knows that, yeah, it's a thing. Sure, there are people who use weed because medical reasons, but medical weed is limited. It's not going to be a free-for-all across the United States. It's going to be a very, very, very small, prescription only, probably coming through the government, same way as it is in Canada. It's not going to be the all things to all people, unicorn poops and sparkles that we hope it's going to be. So what do we think of SLANG Worldwide right now? Well, okay, so here's the thing. It's an $8 million market cap company making $8 million in revenue per quarter. The risk is baked in. The chance that this thing might go to zero, that it might run out of cash, that it might have to do a sell-off is baked in. On the other side of the financials is a company that is starting to penetrate in the market. They've got multiple states where they do business. They've got some good products in those states by all reports. So is SLANG set up for massive success? No, but it doesn't need massive success. At an $8 million market cap, a moderate amount of success, a significant reduction in those operating expenses will get this thing to a place where people will look at that market cap, look at that revenue and say those two things do not compute. I could see SLANG, if the next financials that it puts out, which will want to be much better, if those are good, if those are, let's say, a $2 million loss, so you're looking at an 8-quarter runway instead of a 2-quarter runway, significant change. I would say that as being a real catalyst for this thing to actually finally start turning around stock chart wise. Now, I got no horse in the fight. I got no dog in this race. Wait a second. I guess the greyhound races. But look, man, these were nice people when I talked to them 3 or 4 years ago. They were good guys. They didn't deserve to have the floor fall out from them. Yeah, they made a decision I didn't agree with when it came to not marketing themselves at all. But at the same time, they're still around, and a lot of other cannabis companies are not. So kudos to the SLANG guys for making some change. They've got a lot more change to make, I would expect, to make this ship right again. But at an $8 million market cap, at 6 to 7 cents per share, I don't know, man. This could be one to watch for the next quarter, just to see how hard they can turn this cruise liner around. Anyway, that's SLNG on the CSE. SLANG is the name of the company. Again, not a client. Just out there doing God's work, looking at what might be good and what might not. If you want more, hit the subscribe button and make sure that you get them into your inbox.